The day I turned 23, I bought a $317,000 Lamborghini, paid in full in cash, and I drove that car for about a year. And after that year, I realized, man, this car just really isn't that fulfilling. And so I sold it and traded it in for a beat-up 2010 Honda Accord that my parents had driven back when I was in middle school and high school. And in this video, I want to share with you 4 key steps in my thought process of why exactly I did that and what I'm doing with my money now, and even in a greater sense, how that applies to you. Now, this video is going to be very controversial because it's going to be against all the flash that you already see on social media. This is the video that I wish someone made for me when I was 18, 20 years old, right before I started making serious income online, because I really want to make this video take off the pressure of needing to buy expensive things to justify yourself of being successful, contrary to what the majority of social media influencers are making you think. Now, with that being said, let me share with you the 4 key steps that I thought through of why I decided to sell this car. The first one being temporary happiness. I grew up in a very middle-class family. Both my parents are engineers. They worked 9-to-5 jobs ever since I grew up as a kid. And we drove a very beat-up 1997 Toyota Camry, and I got dropped off in that every single day at school. I would always get passive-aggressive comments, bullying comments, saying like, dude, why does your family drive such a broke car? Like, are you guys poor? And I grew up in an upper middle-class community where most parents were doctors, high-paid lawyers, or even self-employed entrepreneurs. And so my dad bought this 2010 Honda. He bought it in 2010, brand new, for $27,000. I thought that we were wealthy. I genuinely thought, like, oh my gosh, this is the best car ever. My dad even told me, man, I feel like I'm driving a Lamborghini when he was driving that car because it was so much faster compared to the 1997 Toyota Camry that he had. I share that story with you really to just paint home that it has been my dream ever since I was a young kid to have a really nice car. Because I was bullied, because I had these passive-aggressive comments from judgmental kids that had wealthier families. And so when I bought the car at 23, I'll be honest, I was very, very happy. And more than anything, I cared less about the Lamborghini and I cared more about the transformation of what the Lamborghini meant for me, which was who I had to become in order to be able to buy the Lamborghini. I had to have employed 30 people. I had to have had helped over 4,000 clients, impacted a lot of people's lives through the education company that I was running at the time in order to have bought that car. But the thing that I noticed really quickly was that the excitement from the car really started fading off. If you know about the 136 rule, which is that if you buy a new expensive watch, that's going to keep you happy for 1 month. If you buy a new car, that's going to keep you happy for 3 months. If you buy a new house, you'll be excited for about 6 months. But at the end of the day, all material physical things within this life will fade. There was this quote I remember reading from the Bible, Matthew 6:19, that says, "Do not store for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy, and where thieves break in and steal." And I remember reading that line as I was going through my daily devotionals and really just thinking like, well, I didn't buy this with bad intentions, at least I don't think I did. But the one thing that became very clear is, man, this is something that will not keep me happy for the next 10 years, 20 years, for my entire life. And also, nothing physically in this world could make me happy indefinitely. And so that's where I first started thinking like, okay, this is something that's not bringing me long-term happiness. That's where I started thinking about my second thought, which is that this Lamborghini was attracting the wrong kind of attention. Now, as much as I document my entire life on social media, through my YouTube channel, through my Instagram, I do enjoy having a private life. And when I would pull up in this car and go out to dinner, I would go to the movie store, even go to the grocery store, I started noticing I would get the wrong kind of attention. The kind of women that would walk up to me and start talking to me like, oh my gosh, I like your car. You could very clearly tell, I know it doesn't sound politically correct, but they were gold diggers. I would just say that. The kind of woman that I was attracting back then, I was a young 23-year-old guy, actively seeking out for a significant other to one day hopefully marry. I was just not attracting the right type of woman with that kind of car. Secondly, also posting about the car on social media, I realized the kind of attention that I was getting from a business perspective also wasn't very good, because people would start to either classify me as a guru because he's just another one of those guys that flashes an expensive car, expensive watch, and tries to get attention and get the click on the thumbnail from that. Or on the other side, I would actually attract a lot of people who would be interested in buying my products, my services, my consulting, just because of the superficial discovery that I drove an expensive car. Either way, regardless of the kind of attention I was getting, it just was not attractive to me. What was inspiring to me, and still is inspiring to me, is that photo of Jeff Bezos where he's working and he's got spray painted Amazon.com written on the wall, working on this desk that is literally the door of his office, stripped off and put on 2 table stands. And the crazy thing about that is his company was already worth $50 million when they took that photo photo of him. And there's just like this humility of, man, people respected Jeff Bezos back then for his business achievements, of the value that his business actually offered to the world, and not because of the car that he drove, the watch on his wrist, or whatever other material thing that he had to show. And so on the topic of attracting the wrong kind of attention, I also felt myself have this internal desire of keeping up with the Jonases, which if you've ever heard of that phrase of if you kept up with the Jonases, you'll never be able to keep up. When I was a kid, it used to be certain toys. I got into high school, kids would compare what expensive bikes their parents bought for them. When we got into university, it would be, all right, whose parents bought them a more expensive car? And that just never ends. I live in the wealthiest neighborhood in Puerto Rico. We have a few billionaires that live here. Jake Paul, Logan Paul, they're all neighbors down the street. All of these people now have their own planes. It literally never ends, the keeping up with the Jonases. And I realized, like, dude, I don't want to play that game. I don't want to involve my self-worth and just buy stuff not to make me or my family happy, but just to live up to this image so that I can continue to attract approval and attention from other individuals that probably I don't even know their last name, because I don't care, and they don't care for me either. And having all of these expensive toys like this car, for me, now takes me to the third point that I thought through, which is the breaking of focus. Now, this car that I drove was not just a car. Every single time something broke, I would have to go and drive 45 minutes to the Lamborghini dealership, and there would be a $500 bill, $900 bill, expensive bills. And even though from a financial standpoint, you know, I was making $300,000, $400,000 a month in income, I could buy a Lamborghini every month if I wanted to. But just the very fact that I had to think about this car, I had to think about fixing it, it was just another thing, another expense, another line item that took away my focus from actually building my business. And I took a lot of inspiration from Alex Becker, who you guys might know has built a multiple nine-figure company called Hyros. I remember back in 2020, he literally sold everything. He sold his house, he sold his cars, he sold his expensive stuff, and he moved into a 2-bedroom apartment with no furniture to live this monk life and only kind of this meme, this joke online. He actually meant it when he did it. The reason why he did that was just have pure focus and not have anything cluttering his mind to be able to optimize and think about work the most efficiently possible. Getting rid of the Lamborghini just gave me such a weight lifted off my shoulders and not having to think about this $300,000 car sitting in my garage. So then the question naturally becomes, well, if you don't buy an expensive car, Richard, what should you spend your money on then? Which brings me to my next point. I'll make this very clear. There is absolutely nothing wrong with having nice or expensive things like Lamborghinis. If that's the conclusion that you've come to, that, oh man, Richard is just bashing on all the influencers that drive expensive cars, you've missed the whole point. I have nothing against expensive cars. I have nothing against expensive things. I'm wearing a $25,000 watch. I own over 6 figures in watches because I'm extremely passionate about watch collecting. I intend on buying a $500,000 plane inside of the next 4 months because I'm getting my pilot's license. I'm in process of purchasing a multiple 7-figure home. Having things expensive and high value is a massive blessing and something to be grateful for. That's not the point of the video. The point of the video is that we have to spend money on things that actually bring us happiness and not what just you see on social media that you think are the things you should buy once you find success. I had a really young entrepreneur, 20, 21 years old, to visit my house in Puerto Rico. He had been following me for some time. He was also a client of mine, and he said, Richard, when I get to $10 million in sales, and he was getting pretty close, about 6 months away from achieving there, he said, I'm going to buy a Lambo and an AP Royal Oak. It's a $35,000 watch from Audemars Piguet. And I said, why? He says, well, dude, I just look at certain entrepreneurs on social media, and it seems like, you know, he drives that car. It's like a status car, and then all these people have this watch. And I said, but do you really care about that? And he says, well, but they do. And I could just see this conflict tugging at his heart of the fact that he wanted to buy these things because they were more status symbols for him that increased his perception to others in the world, and not actually because that was something that he really, really wanted himself. And that's the point of what I'm trying to make in this video for you, which is, my friend, please do not buy expensive things because of social pressure, or because when you buy it, you feel you will be respected more or you will be perceived differently by your peers, and you're trying to impress other people. Buy things because it genuinely makes you happy. I am going to buy the SR22, which is a $500,000 plane starting, because I know that being able to travel from island to island to island in the Caribbean, which are the over 20 islands that I plan on intending on traveling to in the coming year, that's going to bring my wife and I so much happiness, so much fulfillment being able to travel all over the world in our own plane. And I'm doing that because I know that's going to bring a lot of satisfaction to my life. I'm not saying that I'm never going to have a Lamborghini again in the future. What I'm saying is that when I analyzed my heart and I looked at all the reasons why I had bought these things over the past few months, as well as the focus that I was taking away, at this point in my life, it just didn't make any more sense. You might be wondering, well, dude, I'm kind of now, because Richard's saying that I shouldn't buy it, or he didn't buy it, but then now he's saying that it's okay to buy it. Richard, what do you want me to do? Let me tell you, I'll make it very, very simple. What you should do is genuinely set goals. Whether you have a vision board, you have a goal journal that you write down of material things that you genuinely want. Maybe that is a car, a plane, a watch, a gift that you want to give to someone else, a house that you want to buy, something that you want to do for your parents, retire them, charity goal, whatever that goal is. It's a great thing to have that goal. And just know that that car, that Lamborghini, that whatever it is, fill in the blank, is not the end goal. The end goal is who do you become in the process? Do you become more generous? Do you become a better leader, a better entrepreneur? And most importantly, do you remember who the source is of all of the things that came to you? Because let me tell you, that car was not just a car because you made money, because there's been a very loving God who gave you an opportunity to make incredible money, and the glory needs to go to him. And I know at the end of the day, everything that I own, this business, this social media platform, this YouTube channel, all my employees, these are all things that have been entrusted to me by him, and that source is the most important part about all of this. At the end of the day, I'm 25. Even though I've done 20 million in sales, I'm still trying to figure it out. Ask me in 5 years and I might give you a completely different perspective. But let me know in the comments below. Do you agree with me, or do you just think I'm completely wrong? What's your financial goal that you're trying to achieve, and what is the material thing that you plan on buying? And don't forget to hit that subscribe and notification bell, because I release videos like this every single week. Remember, how you do one thing is how you do everything. I'll see you in the next video.